Inclusive teaching, supporting all students in the college classroom. Using rubrics for inclusive teaching.
So some particular techniques for providing inclusive feedback to your students. First and foremost, a big fan of rubrics. So with rubrics, you can really detail and outline all of your expectations for a student, those criteria statements, right, or those dimensions along the left-hand side. And then it really then can describe what does learning look like at each level of the scale, right? So let's say you have a 4-point scale. The student gets to read what does learning look like, or what does the skill look like for this particular dimension at each of those levels. So this also gives the student some choice, right, in where they want to aim on that particular rubric, right? Maybe they're not shooting for an A, but if they don't have that rubric, they don't know why they landed where they landed, right? So a rubric can be really helpful in setting those criteria for the students, but also in allowing the faculty member or the instructor to be more objective in the way that they are grading and evaluating that particular student's piece of work or project, etc. So one way for instructors to include their students in the process of designing assessments is through giving feedback on assignment rubrics, right? So you could have students simply give feedback on the rubric that you've already created, right? So you print that out for them. It can be a fun activity for them, and it also gets them very familiar and comfortable with what those criteria are, which is also very important. But what I like to do especially is to fill in, so you have your rubric, right? And then you have a series of dimensions. And then you might set one of those levels, right? So let's say it's a four-level rubric. You might set one level and fill in those descriptions for that level, and then ask your students to fill in the other 3 remaining sets of descriptions. And then you really can then have a collaborative conversation about why you set the sort of one level the way you did, what that looks like, what it means. And this works especially well if it's paired with previous examples of artifacts. So if it is a rubric measuring a presentation, right, or a project of some kind, having an example of that artifact that students can look at and then also apply that rubric against can be very helpful in giving them some context as well.